Hi guys, it's Lara. Thank you so much for watching and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to deal with stress. I have a list of things that help me a lot whenever I'm dealing with a stressful situation. This video might be a little repetitive if you watched my video about how to motivate yourself because some of the steps are very similar. However, stress is something we all are dealing with on a regular basis, so I thought this is definitely a subject that deserves its own video. So if you want to know more about the steps that help me to deal with stress, then please keep watching. So let's say I'm in a stressful situation. It can be work related, it can be something that happened in my life. Usually, whenever I'm stressed, I'm feeling a little anxious. I'm sometimes having quite a few negative thoughts and even self-doubt, and we don't want any of that. So the first step for me is always to take a step back and to breathe. Now, I always close my eyes and I just imagine that all these negative feelings and all these negative thoughts and self-doubts are clouds, fluffy clouds on a wonderful blue sky. It could be a summer sky, and I imagine them just passing by. Now I'm looking at them with my closed eyes, of course, just in my head, and I acknowledged that they are there, but I do not judge them. I'm not trying to solve anything at this moment. I'm not trying to analyze anything. I just, as I said, acknowledge that they are there, and I'm still imagining them like slowly passing by on the wonderful sky. And while I'm doing that, I'm also doing my breathing exercise. Now, I always breathe in very deeply with my nose, and then I breathe out with my mouth. And I do that a couple of times as long as it's necessary to feel composed again, usually just like 5 to like 10 deep breaths, and I usually start feeling way better after that. And if that fails, if the situation is a little bit more severe, I try box breathing. Now you have to imagine there is a square in front of you, and let's say we are moving up on this side of the square, and while we're doing that, we breathe in with our nose. Then we hold the breath and we move to the side, and here we move downwards and we breathe out with our mouth. And here we hold whatever is left of the breath, and then we go up again. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Move to the side, and then again, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, and so on. And that usually helps a lot. So now that I have composed myself, the next step is to make sure that I believe in myself. I have to make sure that I know deep in my heart that I'm capable of dealing with the situation or doing the project or the task or whatever that is that stresses me out. But of course, I'm not gonna convince myself if I'm gonna sit like that. Now, honestly, if someone would tell you, yeah, you can do this, would you believe that person? I don't think so. So sit straight, head up, and imagine that you're just super tall, you're even growing. And this posture is a kind of using your body as a tool in order to help you to convince yourself. And then you can go to a mirror, look at yourself, look yourself in the eyes, standing straight and tall, looking confident, and say, this is absolutely not a problem. I am perfectly capable of dealing with this situation. I can do this. And if necessary, repeat that, because it might sound silly at the beginning. You might even laugh at yourself, which is good because laughter is always a great thing. But after a while, you will start believing this because, you repeat it 5 or 6 times, maybe 10 times, looking at yourself, standing straight and confident. Of course, it's possible. The third step is always to bite-size it. This is something I already talked about in my how to motivate yourself video, so I'm not gonna go that deep into it. Instead of that, I will simply link the video down below. But it's really important because no matter what you're dealing with, it always looks so scary when you look at the whole picture. But once you start like dividing it into smaller parts of the situation or the project, it suddenly starts looking a little bit less scary because now you're suddenly not dealing with this huge thing, but there are just a couple of things you have to finish. step by step, and that really helps a lot. The next step is something I also talked about in my How to Motivate Yourself video. Prioritize. It is very important because you don't want to spend your time with things that are actually not really necessary when there are things that would be so much more important. And it's also very, very important to estimate the needed time for certain parts of the project, because that's going to help you with planning. And sometimes when you start estimating at the beginning, you will be probably off. Now, let's say you will estimate that for a certain part of the project, you will need an hour, and it will end up being 2 hours. Now you can always look back and analyze, why was it 2 hours? Why did I think it was just 1 hour? Was it 2 hours because something happened that you didn't expect, or just because you misjudged the situation? And then you will be able to learn for future. So in future, you will be so much better in planning. So these are also very important steps, and more about prioritizing is in my How to Motivate Yourself video, which is linked down below. The next thing that will help you a lot with reducing stress is to be well organized. That's something I personally struggled a lot in the past, but I got so much better, and it made a huge difference for me with everything. So if you're working on a project, or if you have to write a paper, there will be some information probably that you need, maybe even some papers or photos or files. You need to file everything as well as possible, because it should be easy for you to find whatever you need at any time. You don't want to spend your time with looking for things when you can just organize them well, and then it's easy. So when it's physical stuff, I simply make a folder for the project or for the thing or situation or whatever I'm dealing with, and I use highlighter. I use stickers, Post-it, whatever, and make notes everywhere, so that when I look at the things a little bit later, I don't have to think for a while, but I know immediately what it means and why do I have it here. That's so helpful. When it's stuff that you save only electronically, I always make a nice folder. And again, when I'm making tables in Excel, I'm using colors because it helps you so much if you have a nice color scheme that makes sense to you, or like highlighted parts, or like fat script or stuff like that. Use all these tools. They are there exactly for that reason. Now, saying that the first step is everything might sound kind of like stating the obvious, but it really is everything. You have to make the first step in order to get things moving. Now, let's say you're writing a paper and you don't know what to write, like everything is blank in your mind, but you know what's the subject. So write the first header and then take it from there. Like start making a structure for the document, and now you will have at least a few sections. Now you can go to each section and write down your thoughts, ideas for each section, and suddenly it will all become clearer. Now, once you have done all that, you will feel a little bit less stressed, because at least you have some kind of a concept and you can take it from there. And then you have to start being proud of yourself, of every little step that you accomplished, because especially if you felt super anxious at the beginning, it wasn't easy to start, but now you have some kind of a concept, or you started with a few steps for the situation you're dealing with, or whatever that is. But you should be proud of yourself. Of course, you should be also self-critical. Now look at the things you've done and think about what you could do better, either now, if it's still possible, or maybe in the future. But that doesn't mean that you can't be proud of the progress that you made. And the last step is for me always to at least try to eliminate any remaining self-doubts. You have to be kind and understanding to yourself, because very often the others won't be. Now, in order to finish stuff, very often we have to make certain trade-offs. So the result of whatever you've been doing will rarely be perfect. Very often, or actually pretty much every single time I do something, I look back and I'm always like, I could have done better. I could have done this differently and this and that. But that's the learning process. We are not here to be perfect. We are here to learn, to improve, to take everything we experienced with us and to make the best of it. And yes, we are living in a world where people love hiding behind keyboards and they expect nothing less than perfection. But honestly, whatever you're looking at, if it's a person who is super successful or a result of a project of someone else, it might seem perfect to you, but you never know what's behind it. Maybe the, in your eyes, perfect is not perfect for the other person. It's very often very relative. So try to not be too harsh on yourself. Yes, you need to be able to look critically at what you've done, and you should be able to learn and to improve. But as long as you finish what you needed to finish, if it's dealing with a situation that stressed you out or finishing a project, and it's good enough, then it's perfect because it's good enough. So this is my personal process. Honestly, sometimes I just have to take my own advice. I'm not perfect. I'm a person who struggles a lot with doubting myself, with not believing in myself. And I do have to do these exercises occasionally because sometimes I just wake up and I feel like I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't know if I can do this. But that's what makes us humans, you know. And there's this saying, like, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I'm a really big believer in that. So I hope that you guys like this video. I hope that it has been at least somewhat useful for at least one person out there. If you ended up liking the video, don't forget to give the video a thumb up. You can also subscribe to my channel if you didn't yet. And as usual, I will link and list down below a lot of stuff. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you guys so much and see you next time. Bye!